Okay, why are video games so bad these days? For real, The Sims was the only video game that was worth an hour of non-stop play and intense concentration. As intensely as you can concentrate while watching Blair Wainwright do a funny dance in the middle of town. Either way, they lack purpose and meaning. Why do people spend so many hours playing them? Well, I had to stop because I gave people my word that I would stop playing The Sims. I honestly thought that video game creators would create a game just like The Sims and I could get back into that endless fun and creativity. That never happened. I seriously couldn't care less about video games because none of them simulate real life, at all. The reason that The Sims was so big was because it simulated real life. Most of us could skip buying the Supernatural expansion pack and it would be a close simulation to reality. I honestly thought by now people would have come up with something as good as The Sims 3 and become instant millionaires. Now people have games of war combat when no one wants to experience an actual war. Not even the kids that play zombie games. With The Sims 3, you could also make movies that looked very realistic. Not The Sims 4 because they look more animated and you expect the stuff they say to be a joke. But The Sims 3 was realistic, imitating life as much as they could, I guess. You could play that game without stepping out of the real world. Now games are about getting out of the real world as much as possible, or doing immoral stuff like in the shooting games. I guess that's the reason that people are not allowed to release a game like The Sims perhaps, because that defeats the whole purpose of video games, the purpose of wasting your life and making you talk into a hairbrush with a strange accent. Like, now video games seem like the last thing any sane person would want to do. This is the game I suggest, tell me what you think. Imagine a game that imitates life. Of course you could create your own characters, adjust their height and weight and all those nice stuff. But then there's a catch, you should be able to adjust all their facial features, so that your characters can look a bit more normal, and not like 6-foot models without acne or blemishes. Then you should be able to place them in a real world, not La La Land. Like, a real city, in a real country, in a real continent. I know that this could be hard for video game creators, but in low poly it would be possible, and with a dedicated production team. Back to the characters, what about realistic hunger cues, needing to use the bathroom and a realistic body type thing? Where they won't all have the same body types, because we know there are people who can eat 10 burgers and not gain weight, and there are people who need to watch what they eat in order to lose weight. Then you add realistic attractiveness, that your characters would be more attractive if they were thinner, taller, had less blemishes and all. So that other characters could show realistic attraction to whoever they are programmed to find attractive, except that there can't be makeup or hair weaves because that would mess with the game coding, if you were to make a realistic attraction to the opposite sex between these characters. Like, realistic bodies and not everyone looking the same, or being the same weight and height. Then you could add real countries, with their actual names, or you could just create a digital copy of the world. This is very close to reality and it would allow people to play video games without getting out of reality and doing strange things. Characters should all speak the same language of course, but having to learn new languages would also be fun. But English would be a nice start. I believe that people who have played video games for too long have stepped out of reality for too long and aren't prepared for real-life situations and events. You could even create a game with an actual school system, where people know that they can't study the history of toothpicks if they want to get actual work in an actual society. Then you could let the player play with life, for real. Allow them to choose their own president, teachers and create them. Or you could have a system going, a functioning society in a real world. Then a person's character could have the choice to thrive in that society or be unemployed and sleeping rough. Some game that literally imitates life, and people wouldn't go to a dream world when they are playing that game because the rules of life are applied. Where there are teen pregnancies and women who can't get pregnant, where there are reputation-based rules and your character is known by what he or she has, does and who they marry. Where the character goes to work and actually does work, to keep the player's brain active. Where characters write novels that actually have 100 pages or more. A game like that, to bring the world of video game addicts back to reality.